I found this pickup on Marketplace, and the thing that caught my eye was that it looked pretty original. And it seems like either when you go find something that's out there, it's been modified so badly that it's nothing close to original, or if it's original, it's been sitting out in somebody's grove and you got all kinds of problems. This one was actually already had been moved out of the grove and was in nice shape. So the story on this truck is it came from southern Minnesota. It had been used at looked like a service station, and you can see from that big pusher on the front, they've used it to push things around, and it's also got a mount for a plow. So I imagine it had a snow plow at one time. The guy I bought this truck from has had it for about 6 years, and he bought it with plans on doing some work on it and just never got to it. He's got a bunch of other projects, and so he decided to send this one on down the road. So there's a lot of good things about it. It's mostly original. Really, the only change I can see on it is it's got an F-head engine instead of the original flathead, but the engine turns over. He did put a starter in it and just kind of stopped there. So that's something I can work with. The other thing is that he had the title. So the guy signed off the title in 2015. And so I've actually got paperwork on this truck, which is kind of a big deal. The other thing that was kind of nice about this one is that the wheels turned, so the wheels weren't locked up. It wasn't sitting out in somebody's grove. This guy actually had it sitting in his yard, and he actually pulled it into his garage for me when I went to look at it. It was a little bit cold and windy, so I was able to look at it inside. So I loaded it up, brought it home, and this is the project I'm going to get going on. So let's take a little bit closer look at it. Before we get a closer look, I need to move some things around, so I'm going to get some stuff out of the way. And I want to get that Jeep pickup up on some dollies just to make it easier to move it around as I do the work. All right, we got this out where we can get a good look at it now, so let's get started. As I mentioned, this is a 49 Willys pickup, 4x4, and it was, I think, originally light gray, but of course it's been painted many times. All the glass is out of it. The stuff that's still in there is broken, so it's going to need every bit of glass that's there. The body, we'll just start at the front here. The front fenders look good. The hood has got these screws running all the way across, and once we get inside the hood, you'll see there's a support member there that must have popped free, and they just put screws in, so we'll deal with that. The front cowl on the driver's side, I'll need to do some work down here. You can see it's rusted right at the bottom. The door on the driver's side, you can see it's been replaced with probably a slightly better door. Everything appears to be here, but as we get to the bottom, we get some rust, so that'll need attention. The rocker is good. I see a little hole here, pinhole, but as you get back here, so it's probably going to need a front rocker and for sure a cab corner. Moving on. The step looks pretty good. There's some, I don't know what that is, some rubber or something. It's got to be peeled off, but that actually looks good, as well as that trim panel. If we take a peek up in here, this stake pocket is rusted through, so that'll need some work. The rear fender is all there. I don't see any rust holes, but we got a pretty crude repair right here, and this is kind of bashed in. But I think that fender is definitely savable. Now the back of the bed here, this is not where the gas filler is supposed to be. So they put a different tank in and moved it to this side. So this panel needs some help. There's also a rust hole there. All right, let's make our way to the back. First thing you'll notice is missing a tailgate. That's too bad, because those are hard to come by and kind of expensive. But that doesn't need attention just yet. The sides on this bed look pretty decent, with the exception, if we can get in there, way up in front it looks like it's kind of cracked out, but I think that's savable. The bed floor, though, on the other hand, is rotted through for most of it. So this I'll cut out and do something with it. Yet to be determined. Back glass is in there, but right there you can see a bullet hole. Onto the passenger side. This side looks, I think, better than the driver's side. The box side is still okay. We kind of get the same thing to a lesser extent going on this fender. It's got a crack here. We got a crack here. But the fender doesn't look, you know, like it's gone. So again, this is going to be something I think I can save. The step here again is pretty good. We got a few pinholes right here, but it's there for the most part. This stake pocket up in front here is kind of non-existent from here to here. So I think we're going to need to do something with that. This cab corner is kind of okay, with one exception right here. So we'll get into that a little bit more, but might need this cab corner. The rocker looks pretty good. It's all there. Whoops. There it is. It's all there. This door looks real nice. All right. And let's see, this front cowl panel is good until you get right down to this corner again. So this will need work. Front fender looks good. Coming around to the front, I think the hood, with the exception of what I mentioned up here, is in really good shape. So we can save that. The grill is nice. Nice thing about this thing is it's got all the trim pieces. It's got the bezels for the headlight. It's got the marker lights. These are, I think those are glass. Neither of them are broken. So that's a very good thing. This pusher, yeah, that's going to be the first thing to go. All right, let's get inside. All right, the door handles are here, but they need a little bit of help. It doesn't want to unlatch, but there's a button on the inside that works great. So here's the interior. Let's start up on top. The top of the cab looks good. It's not rusted through anywhere, which is kind of a big deal. So really not much to do there but clean that up. Again, we're going to need a windshield, but I even got a rear view mirror, and that looks factory. The dash looks pretty good. Everything's there, including the key and the switch. Here's the gauge cluster. Now, anybody that knows Willys, I'd like a little help on this. I did a little research. I don't think this can be the original gauge cluster, because what I was reading was that this light-faced one was only used in 48, so I'm kind of wondering about that. And then, of course, a couple of these gauges have been replaced. I think these might be round gauges kind of back behind there. So I don't know about that. But glove box is there. It's just got some kind of a paper over the top. Just needs to be cleaned up. Onto the floors. Driver's side floor is all there. I see some pinholes here and over here. So this floor needs a little bit of work. When we move on to the passenger side, that floor pan's gotta be replaced. The seat base looks good. Everything's there. I don't see any holes. And we've got the seat back, just springs and everything are there, but it needs reupholstery. So that's good. And I do have the seat bottom, although it's really only the spring base. So we'll see about that, what we can do with it. Let's take a quick look under the hood. All right, so first thing I'll point out is it's still got the VIN tag, and I checked it, and that does match up with the title. So we're good there. The engine itself is incorrect. This should be a flathead 4. This is an F-head. And otherwise, it's basically the same engine with the F-head on it. And everything is there with that engine, so that's kind of nice. It's got, with the exception of the air cleaner, that's an aftermarket, but it's got the carburetor, everything right down to, got a generator on there, and the fan. The guy I bought it from told me he had the starter rebuilt, so it's got a new starter in it, so that's great. And one bad thing here is it's missing the radiator. So what I was told is that when this thing was stored outside, that somebody came and took the tailgate and that radiator. So that's too bad. That'll have to be replaced. I want to show you one thing that we were looking at, and at first I wasn't sure what this thing was or why it was here. Had a theory, but it turns out I'm wrong. But that is the fuel inlet to the carbon. It's got a pressure regulator. It's a pretty old one. And at first I wasn't sure what was going on. I thought, was this thing running propane or something? But as I looked a little closer, One of the things I noticed, if you look, let's see if we can get a look at this way down here. There we go. That's, I believe, where the fuel pump should go, the mechanical fuel pump. That's not there. What I did find instead is this gadget. Get the light off. There we go. You got this gadget. It's got electric wires going to it. This, I think, is an ancient electric fuel pump. So somebody over time converted it to an electric fuel pump. All right, let's talk about the plan. First thing I'll tell you is this thing is not going to get knocked out in 6 months. This is something I'm going to pick at and just use as a ongoing project. There's a lot to do here, but a lot to start with. One thing I didn't mention is I crawled underneath and looked at everything is there mechanically. Everything, the transfer case, transmission, all of that is there. And so what's the plan? My plan, I think, is just to keep this thing original. And as I get going on this, I'll learn more. But I'd like to stay with the engine that's in it and the drivetrain and just go through everything. I'd like to begin by getting it running, and I don't know about driving, but at least getting it running so that I know the engine is good, and then start working my way back from there. And actually, I think even today what I'm going to do is take this thing off. I just can't stand looking at it. So that'll happen right away. So work on the drivetrain, and then in the meantime, we've got a lot of rust to fix here. This thing needs all new glass. It needs wiring. It needs exhaust. Pretty much everything, but I can kind of take those little by little. And as far as the box goes, so again, it's a good box to start with. There's some welding and some repairs to be done. And I know that these are available, but they're really expensive, and I don't know that I want to get that deep. I want this to be a budget build. I don't want to spend a whole lot of money on this. And I just want to make it a driver. So I think what I might do is cut this out and replace it with wood. I've seen a lot of them done in wood. As far as the tailgate goes, I'm just going to ignore it for now. And as we go, I'll keep my eyes out. Maybe I'll find a used one. And if I don't, maybe I'll make one. The paint, I think what I want to do is just kind of strip this thing. And I do like the color of the doors. And I think I might just try to prime and paint it to match the doors. I'm not going to send it out, and I'm not a paint guy. But I think just some basic DIY paint job is going to be good enough. I'm not, for instance, body working this thing down till it's perfect. I want to do these repairs and make it look decent, but it's just going to be driven that way. So I think that's a plan. And let's kind of wrap things up today with getting that front push bar off. Starting to look better already. I'm glad I got that pusher off of there. Now we can see the whole grill. I still need to put a bumper on this thing. and that will come with time, but we're going to focus on the mechanicals to begin with. So if you stayed with me this long, thanks for watching. I'll be posting up more episodes as I do this work. And if you want to keep track of what's going on, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.